Visualize this. There's a group of youngsters who have been planning something for a week now. They are really excited because today is the day that they get to execute their plan. They are waiting for that one phone call that would let them know about their approaching target. And the call comes. They are all set. As soon as they get their target where they want him, they strike with all their might, using lathis, stones, kicks, it all. The victim has no other way out but to run for his life. They follow him mercilessly. Finally, all exhausted, they stop, but with a feeling of a mission accomplished. Now, while listening to this narration, if at least some of us were feeling, not just out of curiosity, but some genuine concern, why would somebody do this? Well then, we do have hope for humanity. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Deepa Panakkal, and I'm going to talk about importance of asking questions, especially why. Let me add a small detail to that narration that I just finished. This is a real incident, and the victim in this case is a small puppy dog. I so hope that doesn't make you feel any less sorry about the incident. You could very well replace the victim, the perpetrator, and the scenario with any other crime. And you might as well agree that many a times what shakes us to the core in such cases is the motive, or even worse, the utter lack of motive. I'm also a trainer for universal human values, and that has given me an opportunity to interact with trainers across nations. And we have come to understand this fact that today, as a progressive society, what threatens us the most, more than natural disasters or even wild animals for that matter, is the indefinite, unpredictable human behavior. Here we are today, discussing grey matter. And I do believe self-control and decision-making are integral to it. Take any theory of emotional intelligence, and it will tell you that for you to be able to manage your emotions, responses, and thereby your behavior, it is important that you first understand and reason with them. And when you need a reason, what is the question we ask? Why? We as a race seem to have lost touch with the art and science of reasoning with our own emotions and responses, thereby our actions. So through my talk, I would try to emphasize how asking why, using the sense of reasoning, can make us less judgmental, more empathetic, respectful, open communicators, and thereby better supportive humans. For me, asking this question why started quite early. All credit to my mom and dad who encouraged it a lot. Imagine, as a teenager, barging into your dad's room and cracking an adult joke. Suicidal, you might think. Well, I did it. My dad, after a few awkward moments of silence, very nicely asked me, "Why did you think it was okay to bring that joke home?" I blabbered something. Then came the next important question. Why did you think it was okay to joke about it? This "it" becomes important because the joke was on homosexuality, and I back then had no idea what it was. In the conversation that followed, my dad shared a lot of wisdom and perspective. And I learned 3 very important lessons that day. First, since my dad did not judge me, I was comfortable to talk, which means lesser the judgment, better the communication. Second, I realized that before I go ahead and label things as embarrassing, taboo, unacceptable, I would rather reason with them and understand why I want to take that stand. And third, I realized I could bring anything home. That thought was very empowering. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we should encourage adult jokes at home. What I'm trying to emphasize is that we need to encourage open communication. There's a study conducted by FitRated with victims of body shaming. And many of them confided that for them, body shaming began at home. 67% of women, for them, it started because of their mothers. And 47% of men mentioned their closest friends or the ones who were their love interests. There's one thing about insecurities and inhibitions. I do believe we wouldn't want to do that to our loved ones intentionally. So then what goes wrong? What goes wrong is we don't stop to question or reason with this whole idea of social acceptance. If only inhibitions and insecurities were allowed to be discussed openly, the process of healing would start. But when we don't do that, we are ideally pushing our young minds to external sources because we are more judgmental. There's a study conducted by Cyber Sentinel in 2019 with youngsters as to how much time they are spending on the internet and what is it that they're looking for. I'm sure by now some of you are already thinking pornography, family planning. Yes, those are there on the list. But what is also there on the list is diet plan, weight loss, self-esteem, and emotional support. Wow. I wonder what that says about us as a society if our young minds have to go to Google for emotional support. Where are we going wrong? It's high time we reasoned with our set pattern of thinking and beliefs. Why would we feel embarrassed or ashamed about discussing those vital aspects of life with those people who are the most important ones to us? It's high time we encouraged open communication, and that would help us move beyond judgments to be a little more empathetic. Interaction with young minds is very important. And that's why I believe as an educator, it's a blessing. I get to interact with so many young minds. But at the same time, I have to put a conscious effort to reason with my actions, behavior, and my emotions, my thoughts. Otherwise, instead of inspiring, I might as well end up doing a lot of damage. When I just started teaching, it was just my first year of teaching, when I met this person who was into a habit of conducting a survey. He would actually go to these teachers and find out about class and students that we were yet to teach. Now, I'm not against the idea of being well informed, but then we have to be careful when you're gathering emotions in terms of opinions. If we fail to reason with those, we end up with only judgments and labels. I do believe that when I enter a classroom, I would want my students to gauge me or connect with me based on their personal interaction with me and not based on what they've heard from someone or they've heard from somewhere. Well then, it's only fair that I give them the same opportunity. Rather, if you look at it, it is their right. This approach of reasoning with what all my actions thereby has helped me enter a classroom without these labels, these judgments, that extra burden. And thereby, I connect with my students at a level where they become comfortable, they feel the mutual respect, and it makes easy for them to communicate effectively with me. Let me share this another instance with you. I saw this habit of taking up students' roll numbers for discussion. It's fine as long as you're taking attendance. But then when you're discussing individuals and you still refer to them by numbers, we do have a problem there. So what I did was, with all these observations, I went ahead and used them while I was interacting with teachers, be it in a seminar, workshop, training, whatever. All we had to do was reason with these actions. So I would ask them a simple question as, imagine one day you enter your workplace and instead of being called as, let's say, Deepa, you're called as 111 How does it feel? And they would all agree that it was kind of demeaning and they didn't really like the sound of it. So then the question was very simple. Why would you do that to your students then? And it would click. Interestingly, many teachers post the sessions came and told me that we have stopped doing that. But what was more important was that many teachers mentioned they had never thought of it that way. It was not intentional. That is the beauty of reasoning. It opens up perspectives for you which otherwise remain unexplored, thereby helping you become more empathetic. It helps you understand people, and thereby it also helps your understanding of the concept respect. Yes, respect. Now let's come to that. Let me share another experience with you. I was in this interview and one of the panelists was not really happy with me because I had attended a workshop on how social media could be used for English language teaching. And she told me very clearly that she was dead against social media. Reason that she stated was that a girl and her family had to commit suicide because the girl's photographs on Facebook were hacked, morphed, and published indecently. So blame it on Facebook and blame it on the girl. When I sat there reasoning with this, what I felt was there was some person on social media who did not realize that even in virtual space, respect is due. You have to respect a person and their right to privacy. Also, this person was incapable, or let's say he did not have the ability to reason with his thoughts and actions. Thereby, he ended up doing such a big damage. Why blame him alone? Let's blame it on a society as well. We as a society are akin to picking up easy targets. Conveniently and unreasonably enough, we would rather blame the victim and add to their trauma, indulge in victim blaming, instead of going after the culprit. So what is wrong with us here? What is wrong is that we don't use our sense of reasoning. We don't ask why is it that we follow this herd mentality and continue with a set fixed pattern of behavior. Why is it that we start thinking of respect as an object which is kept out there and it could be taken away from me by somebody else's insensitive, inhuman behavior? My dear friends, I do believe that respect is self-defining. Every time I open my mouth to say something about somebody or act for or against someone, I actually expose more of my character and not of the other person. So, my class, my community, my gender, my age, my sexual orientation, the fact that I'm a rape survivor or a survivor of acid attack, the fact that I don't want to fit into a propagated framework set apart by the society, or the fact that I'm an English teacher from an arts background teaching an engineering college, none of this can decide whether I'm deserving or undeserving of respect. Why do we respect? We respect because we can. I'll repeat that. We respect because we can. And if we can't, then high time we question what is it that pushes us into a zone where we become so insensitive that we cannot even respect our own kind. I tell my students that whenever somebody comes to you with appreciation or criticism, always seek reasons. Why? Well, because if you know the reasons, you know what you're good at, and you also know what you need to improve on. But if either of these things comes without reasons, well, do realize that you have to understand it is baseless and you should be able to move on. I do believe this reasoning approach has become very important because, one, I need to safeguard the interest of my students. I want to make sure their self-esteem is not put on the line. Second, I do feel that it will make them more humble, grounded, and accommodative. My sessions with my students are not about just a concept. We discuss life experiences. We reason with beliefs. We reason with perspectives. We reason with failures and vulnerabilities. So they know that the teacher is not perfect. And it's okay to fail as long as you're ready to learn and get back on your feet. This kind of a healthy discussion, this kind of a reason-based approach makes us people who are good listeners. We are open to new perspectives, and we do realize that though we share the same planet, each one has a different world of experience to bring. And we respect that. We accommodate that. I do believe that is what is required today. This sense of reasoning has also helped me as an educator, because I've come to realize that what I serve is not just a system or an institution. I serve a bigger purpose. That has helped me touch lives. We live in a society where certain set frameworks get propagated so influentially that they become a norm. And then it is expected that you give absolute allegiance. If not question it now, then when? We are in for trouble if we don't use our sense of reasoning. So all I'm trying to say is that we have one life to live, and we have a gift of sense of reasoning. We could use it to add value to people's life or make people's lives miserable. Choice is completely ours. But it is important that we ask why, and we use this sense of reasoning wisely and well. For this will decide whether it is tales of fear, insecurity, or tales of humanity, empathy, and respect that our future generations will get to tell. Thank you.